Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline.
And Adam.
For Pixie Dust PhD. When we were at the Disneyland Resort in spring 2025, this was our first time ever seeing any rendition of World of Color. When we last went to Disneyland as adults in January of 2022, they just weren't running World of Color. I don't know if it hadn't come back from the pandemic closures or what, but this was our very first opportunity. So I know I personally was really excited.
Yeah, it's something that I had known was a nighttime show and I've never seen it before, so I also was looking forward to it.
So for a little bit of background, World of Color is at the DCA park, not the Castle Park, and it happens at the lagoon that's kind of in Paradise Garden Pier. So looking at the Incredicoaster, like around Pixar Pier, but you're gonna be standing in the Paradise Garden section. This is a water show. There are no fireworks, but there's just like a ton of water jets. There are multiple water screens. If you're used to Fantasmic at World of Color, they're not projecting the same thing on all three water screens. So if you really want to be able to view the whole story, you're going to want to have a relatively central viewing location. If you're off to either side, you're just not really going to be able to appreciate what's happening on the other water screens. And if you're really central, you've got the Pixar Pal Around Big Mickey Fun Wheel behind. They do stop that ride during World of Color, so it's not moving, but it's a really cute backdrop. They do run Incredicoaster, which is interesting, but all on the facade of Incredicoaster that faces the lake, there's just a ton of lights that they use for the show, which is not something I ever would have known as a day guest, just like riding the Incredicoaster.
And there also are lights on the wheel as well that correspond to the show.
Oh yeah, totally, it's really cool. So you don't have to pay to see World of Color. There's a ton of ways, we'll run through those real quick. First, you can just stroll up. If you do stroll up though, you are gonna have like less good viewing spots. The better areas are allocated for these ways that you can view World of Color. One is a virtual queue. So as of when we were there at 12 noon, they drop a virtual queue and you join that, and then you can enter either like the blue or yellow viewing areas, which are not totally central. They're a little bit off to the side, but they're still like really good viewing areas. If you don't have a virtual queue, I don't think the cast members are supposed to let you into that area. And for any Disney World people, you don't have like a friends and family list at Disneyland. So to join your whole group together, what you're gonna have to do is actually scan everybody's tickets and have those in your account. So I decided that I would be designated survivor for the virtual queue. And I just made sure that I had all the tickets in my account. And then I joined with everybody in there, no worries. But it's not like the friends and family list that you might be used to. So again, virtual queue, check the details on the Disney website when you're going, because this may change. For us, it dropped at noon. You join it, end of story, totally free. Then there are two paid options. There is a dining package and then a dessert party. For the dining package, as of when we were there, you could do it if you were a Magic Key holder, and for that, you reserve it in advance as like a World of Color dining package through the website. You also could dine at Storytellers Cafe or at Wine Country, and for those, I believe you actually just reserve the dining as per usual, like just a normal advanced dining reservation. And then when you get there, you say that you want to upgrade to the World of Color dining package. We didn't do either of those for a few reasons. One is I was nervous about like not getting the dining package, because you're not reserving the dining package, you're just reserving dining, and then you go to upgrade. In principle, it could sell out. Additionally, we have dined at Wine Country before, and it's totally good, but like I didn't need to go again. And while we were there, I knew that Storytellers was under refurbishment, so it was open and you could go, but they were hosting it in like a weird room off of the conference center.
Yeah, it's like a conference room.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like it would be like the best experience for the money, so we passed on those. So I can't comment on the dining packages, but that is the overall gist. Again, this is subject to change. Definitely check the Disney website if you're interested. And so the dining packages have reserved areas. You are standing though, so you are still kind of like jockeying for position. Then finally you have the dessert party, which is totally separate. So that does have a dessert party webpage. You do book it through that webpage to kind of guarantee your spot. When we booked this, which would have been January of 2025, it was $89 a person. So it is very expensive. And there's no discount for kids. It just is $89 a ticket. So if you have a 3-year-old with a ticket and you want to bring them to the dessert party, I'm pretty sure you're still paying $89 for them. And so what is included is there are beverages, including alcoholic beverages, as well as like a little dessert plate. We'll show you a picture here, but it's some pretty run-of-the-mill like theme park desserts. They weren't bad, but it, nothing really to write home about. So your desserts are like a Rice Krispie, a little chocolate cake, which does have like a World of Color, pre-printed white chocolate emblem on it. It's cute. There was like a little bundt cake it was all very fine. Like, I think there was only one dessert we ate and we were like, oh, that was pretty good. And we like finished it. The rest of them we took a bite, you know, because you have paid for it. And we're like, okay, that's fine. You do also get some cheeses. There was a manchego, which was nice, kind of a plussed up cheese, some crackers, some grapes. Yeah. And then they will also give you a to-go box, so you definitely don't have to finish it and you can take it back to your hotel room.
Pretty sure everyone had a to-go box as they were leaving.
Yeah. And while it is a dessert party, and yes, you are getting your little somewhat sad plate of desserts and cheeses and your drinks, which is nice, you really are paying for the seat and the location. So again, if you have the virtual queue, you're standing. If you have the dining package, you are standing. If you have the dessert party, you get to sit, which for us, for like a really long theme park day, after having traveled the day before, it was glorious. And you are super centrally located, so it's the best view, I think, for World of Color. Now, if you are a smaller party, you will be almost certainly sat with another party unless it happens to not be sold out.
Right.
Obviously, we were sat with another party of 2. For example, I don't think they touched their dessert plate. They just knew that they were gonna get a to-go box and like took that. If you're a bigger party, it did look like they would kind of combine 2 tables for you. So it all just depends, but if you're a smaller party, I wouldn't go into it thinking that you'll be sat by yourself. If World of Color is running, I believe that they do the dessert party for every showing. So sometimes World of Color is once a night, sometimes it's twice a night. When we did the dessert party, they were running World of Color at 9 and I think 10:30, so there were 2 dessert parties. Now, your confirmation email for the dessert party will tell you to show up an hour beforehand to check in, and you check in over in the Grizzly Peak area, like outside of the big water wheel, so it's not where you are actually going because they line you up and walk you down. I think they just don't want you in that major pedestrian path over in the Paradise Garden area. And so they tell you to come check in an hour early, but the secret is they assign a table to you when you check in, which means the earlier you check in, the better chance you have at getting kind of quote unquote the best table. So again, our World of Color showing that night was at 9 p.m. Our official check-in was at 8 p.m. We wandered over to the Grizzly Peak area at like 6:45. And then they set up their stanchion to check in around 7 o'clock, maybe a little bit before. So we were the second group to check in, which meant we kind of had our pick of the litter. They will ask you what kind of table you want. So they have like low standard tables and then high tables where you're sitting in a director's chair. For the sake of the view, I thought that the high chair would be better. And I feel pretty good about the decision, but yes. I think the low tables were still like a very good view.
Yeah, all the views were great. That's what you're paying for. They made sure of it. But I did like, I think you were definitely vindicated with your decision of a high top.
Yeah, and so the thing is, there are still people standing in front of you, like not as part of the dessert party, but the areas roped off in front of you, I think probably are for the dining packages. So if you're at a lower table, I think your head height is probably close to the people standing, whereas we were sat up. And so we had a really good view, like above everybody standing, even with kids on shoulders. All that to be said, the earlier you check in, probably the better table assignment you're gonna get. Because we were second to check in, they already assigned us what I think is probably the best table, but I had done my research before. And so we checked in, she said, you're good. I said, oh, are we allowed to make any requests? She was like what? And I was like, oh, I've heard table 27 is really good. She was like, oh, I already gave you table 27. So can confirm if any of you are doing the dessert party and want the director's chair, the high table, table 27 is peak. It's like pretty much dead center. You're next to a staircase that is left empty. Obviously, like they're not sitting anyone there. No one's passing by you there. So really all you have in front of you is the low table in front of you and then people standing. It is a beautiful view. You get to see all 3 of the water screens really well. Just like, yeah, peak table 27, unless they redo the table numbering, that's the one you want.
Yeah, and the staircase right there, which was left vacant, really allowed us to exit pretty easily, which post fireworks can be crazy.
Post water show, there's no fireworks.
Post show.
Yeah, so overall, again, you're paying $89 a person. That is tax included, I'm pretty sure, which is a nice thing about Disneyland, but $89 a person. We each had a couple, nope, I had 2 drinks. I think you only had 1, right?
Yeah, and hot cocoa.
Yeah, and hot cocoa. So if you have a lot of drinks, I guess it's easier to justify because, you know, every glass of bubbles is probably $17 or $19 according to Disneyland. So then maybe you're paying, I don't know, $45 or $50 just for the dessert plate and the seat. How do you value the dessert plate? To me, it's $10 maybe. I mean, obviously MSRP is higher. What I value it at is like, yeah, I don't know, $10.
Yeah, definitely it's, at the end of the day, the ability to get a nightcap, watch a show with a good seat, and I feel like you have your own personal space.
Yeah, it's absolutely not something I would do every time. I think, again, because it was our first and only time seeing World of Color, it felt easy to justify.
Yeah, and what was nice is after we checked in, we still had time to knock out a couple rides.
Yes. So we did the check-in around 7. You don't have to come back till later. Like, your seat is assigned. So you are welcome to come back right at 8 to be like, you know, the first people that are getting walked down. But given the fact that your seat's assigned, I didn't see any rush for it. So we checked in, we did some other stuff. I think we got maybe a little bite, did a ride, and then came back to like walk down to the dessert party area where you then have roughly an hour to eat and drink before the show.
Yeah, and we definitely didn't intentionally like come late to the line because we still wanted to be sat relatively soon so we could get the most of that experience.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that I was gonna get at least 2 drinks in. I wasn't sure how fast service would be in terms of them coming around. They were very attentive though, so I don't think you need to be like right on the dot ready. If you wanted to get more than 2 rounds in, like maybe, I think I probably could have squeezed a third in. Like, they did come by and I said no thanks. But I guess if you're really trying to get your money's worth on the alcohol side of things, you probably want to be there early. But I thought, yeah, checking in, going and doing other stuff, and then coming back to like actually go to the dessert party worked out really well. A common hack I saw online that people were saying was you can just get a late dinner reservation at Lamplight Lounge and ask to be sat outside. So then you are out on the lagoon where World of Color is happening. And in my head, I said, I don't think that's gonna be great. And having now done the dessert party, we've eaten at Lamplight Lounge a couple times, having seen World of Color. If you've seen World of Color before, then yeah, I think the Lamplight Lounge hack could be a nice way to like sit while watching World of Color. If you've not seen World of Color before, the Lamplight Lounge outside area is very far off to a side. I cannot imagine that you have a particularly good view of the show from any of those seats. You probably have a good view of your section of the water screen, but there are many effects during the show that really beg for you to be kind of centered and being able to see it all. So I would not recommend you count on the Lamplight Lounge hack if this is your first time seeing the show and you really want to like fully experience it.
Yeah, I think just in the future, if things stay the same, for me, the virtual queue is probably a great way to get a good experience with the show.
I totally agree. I don't think I would pay for the dessert party again, especially not for the same show, if they massively update World of Color. So we saw World of Color 1. I know they're doing like an overlay for the 70th anniversary. It changes from time to time is my point. If they changed it majorly and reviews were super good and I don't know, we had the money to blow, maybe. I think the dessert party for most people is probably like a one and done thing, but I'm glad to have done it for my first time seeing World of Color. A couple days after our dessert party, we did end up doing the virtual queue with my family, our big party of 7. Obviously, we were not gonna pay for the dessert party for that, and I didn't even know if the kids were gonna be able to stay up late enough, and I don't think their parents knew either until day of. It kind of depended on how good their midday nap was, and it was good enough, I guess, just barely. So yeah, we did do the virtual queue again. I think that was like a pretty good view, and I think that was a Monday or Tuesday night, so it wasn't terribly competitive. I think if you're there on a weekend, the virtual queue jockeying of your view is probably a little bit harder. But like Adam said, I think the virtual queue is plenty good, and moving forward, that's probably what I would do too. But if you are interested in kind of a more premiere view and also being able to sit through the whole show, I don't regret doing the dessert party. For anyone spoiler adverse, we are gonna talk a little bit about the show now. So if you don't wanna see those, thanks so much for coming by. Please remember to like the video, and here we go. Okay, again, we saw World of Color 1. I have seen chatter on the internet that apparently like proper World of Color is a lot better, but I've never seen that. I've never even seen a video of it. So I have nothing to compare it to. I really, really enjoyed the show. I think it was almost a half hour. I think it was more than 20 minutes. It incorporated a ton of different properties, and it was just a lot cooler than I ever thought like a water jet show could be.
Yeah, I think there was one day where they actually had drained the lake a little bit, and we got to see all of the iron work beneath the lagoon. And it's pretty incredible how complicated it is. And then when you see the show, it all comes together and it's really cool.
Totally. And some of the jets are way more powerful than I could have ever imagined in terms of height that they get. And same with the lights underneath. Like when you think about a colorful water show, I'm like, okay, like it'll be kind of colored. But like some of them were really very saturated color, like very clear what the effect they were going for. And it translated so well. The technology piece behind it, I found super impressive.
Yeah, and just the way that it went through the properties and you leveraged the music to hit all those notes and triggered a lot of nostalgia, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so specifically one of my favorite scenes is they do a Mulan segment, and then they show the part where she is shooting the rocket thing at the mountain to cause the avalanche, and they do the avalanche in the water, and it is so cool. There's also a Star Wars segment, and I do not even like Star Wars, but they start it with two like very high, very colored jet streams. One's green, one's red. So those are the lightsabers, and then the music comes on and you're like, wow, this is pretty
Star Wars.
Very cool. Like, I don't even like Star Wars, and I was like, this is pretty cool, you guys. There's also a Moana segment, which kind of water-wise is maybe not the coolest, most impressive part of it, but it really went well in the story. And then toward the end, they do a little bit of Raya and the Last Dragon. It's not like a proper segment, but they're in there. So we've got Mulan, we've got Moana, we got Raya. If only they would put Merida in, and then it would be like Chef's Kiss, a show for Jacqueline.
Yeah, and then I also like they use a little bit of fire too, as well, towards the end.
Yeah, it's just, honestly, it's really cool. Again, I don't know, I'm pretty spoiler averse, so I haven't seen old World of Color. I hear it's better, but I was so happy with World of Color 1, both at the dessert party and when we saw it later via virtual queue with my family. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks so much for watching. I super appreciate it. If you found this helpful, informative, or enjoyable, please do remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can then ring the bell icon to receive a notification whenever we upload new videos. If you have seen any version of World of Color, definitely let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you do the dessert party, particularly for your first time? I would love to hear your thoughts. Again, I know that it's like outrageously expensive, but we take the mindset of it's vacation, we have the money to do it, let's have a great experience, probably never do it again. Thanks so much for watching. We super appreciate your support of the channel, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.
Bye.